What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Dreams2Reality podcast. Me and the co-host Rickson
We out here, baby.
drinking a Coke Zero.
Dreams to reality, baby. How's your week been, brother?
Pretty good.
This we both did something pretty transformative. Should we talk about it?
Sure. I
How many
spoke about
days?
it a little bit on my one of my videos.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many days has it been since you smoked anything?
Been like 7.
7 days. That's pretty incredible. And I wasn't really maybe as heavy of a smoker as you, but I would say I was when it comes to nicotine. Even though I would like not inhale and kind of smoke it like a little bit like a cigar,
Yeah.
I still was doing it quite a bit. And after like the first 3 days, bro, I just definitely noticed that I had a problem because of my withdrawals were pretty fucking intense, to say the least.
Yeah, I still have a little withdrawals here and there, but for the most part, I'm pretty good now.
Yeah, same. The emotions
It's
for
just
me were high. For you, it was more physical, right?
Yeah, it was more like physical pain.
Yeah, but the
I
fucking
got
for me,
emotional too the first couple of days, but I just kind
yeah,
of
I had less of an emotional kind of thing, but for me,
remember.
I mean physical, but the emotion was really high.
I'm on medication too, so I don't get the emotional stuff as much.
Well, yeah, maybe that medication helps you kind of calm that down
Or
a little
else
bit.
I would probably be a demon right now, dude.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough, but I'm so proud of you, brother. Like it's one of the best decisions I think you've made in a while, and for your health and for your mental health, and not just, like we talked about before. Like it's not just about the smoking. Let's not make this a podcast about what people should or shouldn't do, but it's not really about like, oh, smoking's bad or drugs are bad or this is bad. To me, it's really about the neurological effect, right? These things are kind of a hindrance to our brain capacity and our ability to get things done. Like if it was like
Yeah,
you ever seen the movie Limitless?
limitless. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if it was like that where we take this pill and we're just like fucking mad geniuses, right? But it has some pretty gnarly side effects. I could argue it might be worth it. But it's like you smoke a cigarette or you smoke a joint, whatever, like besides some immediate pleasure and you don't really actually, it doesn't actually do anything good for you. You know what I mean? It's not like
Hmm.
we have an actual benefit from it. Like besides how you feel, I'm saying like it doesn't actually give me like superpowers or abilities or something like that. It's like all negative.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
when you
for me, it's
when
all
you really
about letting things go. Like in order to get to the next level, you have to get
you
rid
have
of a
to let
lot
them
of
go.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell
I
this to
think so.
like artists that I have as friends all the time that I've worked with in the past. Like I'll have friends that are artists. They always say, they have no money for studio time. They have no money for marketing. They have no money for this, for that, for this, for that, right? But every time they come to the studio, or every time I see them, they smoking a joint, drinking a beer, got some cigarettes, whatever it is, every single time. So it's like but you ain't got money for your career, but you got money for drugs or weed. You don't want to, some people don't like calling weed a drug, whatever, right? You got money for
Yeah.
recreational things, let's just say, regardless of what they are. You have money for that, you know, but you don't got money to invest in your career. You got money to pay for, a girl that you take on a date or something, but you don't got money to pay for your career. And like what you just said right now is very key. Whatever you want to do in life, sometimes you got to sacrifice some things to get to that next level, right? Even like if you're in a relationship, right? Like you got to sacrifice. Like let's say you find a relationship like with a significant other, like a girl or a guy, right? You find a relationship, yeah, you got to sacrifice other opportunities, maybe, right? If you're being in a monogamous, just you and her, kind of relationship, like,
Hmm.
yeah, you have to sacrifice other opportunities and new people you meet to, do this. Like anything has sacrifice, right? Like if you try and lose weight, you got to sacrifice the immediate pleasure of food for the long-term pleasure of being healthy and looking your best and how good that would feel. So similarly, like right now, what you're saying, and I notice a lot of artists, they think they want it, but they're not really actually willing to make those sacrifices.
Yeah, it's all about just figuring out what doesn't serve you and knowing what you have to do in order to get to the next level and then, cutting those things out so you can focus on your dreams.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean that like any specific thing is what's holding you back, right? Different people can be different things, but I think what you're saying is that figuring out It's probably the first step, right? Like really doing an analysis of like, okay, what am I doing here, right? And is there some things that I'm doing that could actually be getting in my way of what I actually want, right? Versus helping me achieve what I want, right? It's not really about what anybody else says or thinks. It's really about what you want, like you as an individual, like what's going to be good for you in in reaching your objectives, like you said. Whether that could be in anything, music, relationships, money or business, anything at all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and that's yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, it's just all about putting. Sometimes certain things can help you, but I think, once you're in a natural state, like once your mind is clear and you don't have any addictions, it's a lot easier.
yeah. I personally would agree.
But yeah, I mean, one topic I wanted to talk about because a lot of people were asking me, how do I get my following up? A lot of people are always telling us how do we get more followers? But
Yeah,
the truth is, these days, followers don't matter. That's one of the topics we wanted to talk about. I'll go first as far as what I believe, but most people, even Gary Vee has said this, we're not in a social media era, we're in an interest-based,
interest media. It's not
yeah,
social
interest
media, it's
media.
interest media. Yeah, yeah,
Right. And the reason why they're saying that is because these days you can no longer just post pictures and post, stuff that has nothing to do with interest that your audience are interested in and get exposure. Even though
yeah,
followers are not important, if you want to get followers, you kind of have to get into the interest-based media perspective, and you have to figure out what interests relate to your music or relate to what you're doing, and you have to make content about those specific interests. Like for
yeah,
me, I do music marketing. I always talk about music marketing because I know there's a community of people that watch that type of content
yeah,
and that want to learn from it, and then I want to tap into that audience. I'm gonna have to specifically talk about that interest. And if you're an artist and you make music that's like spiritual or motivational, you have to tap into that motivational niche, that spiritual niche, and
yeah.
then you have to essentially post content that's based around those interests.
Makes a lot
Another
of
thing
sense.
is the algorithm doesn't really care about how many followers you have anymore. It's all based around what you're making videos about. So if you're making consistent videos about the same interest, the algorithm is going to push you out when you have something that's, trendy or popular within that niche or that people are looking for. It's going to go viral and it's going to go in people's news feeds. But yeah, that's pretty much, what I would say about that. What's your take on that?
I wouldn't say that followers don't matter. They're definitely a lot less relevant. But what happens is what's become more relevant is over the years, it doesn't really matter if you follow somebody, you might still not see their content, right? I was talking to my brother about this. He's like, his wife will post things and his wife will be like, you didn't see my post. And it's like, doesn't see it, right? Because he's not engaging with that niche that his algorithm is not showing him that. Also, you have the different tabs too, right? Like you have the for you
Yeah.
have the who you follow. There's different feeds, even within Instagram and all the different platforms as well. So depend, and most people don't even know that, right? So they're not actually taking the time to switch between feeds, right? They're just scrolling through, and it's showing you, like you said, based on like the type of videos you're making. Even their AI for their algorithms has gotten so good that it's analyzing the visual content, the
Hmm.
words, everything. It analyzes the content and it tries to connect it with other content that's similar. So it's not that necessarily followers don't matter; they're just not as relevant. And you could have a lot of followers and still not get engagement if your content is not connecting with what the algorithm is showing to certain people, right? So,
Yeah.
and by the way, this is, in my opinion, a good thing if you understand it, because that means you can make an account. Like I think now more than ever, people are making accounts and blowing up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because I could be wrong. Is that a valid statistic? I'm not actually sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much true because like like I said, if you're not, on if you're not on social media, and I mean, if you're on social media and you have a fresh account and you're interacting with people that match the type of videos you're making, you're posting content based around those interests, you can blow up pretty quickly. I've done this with a lot of people, where we start fresh accounts and we try to keep the content interest specific, and we see them getting thousands of followers a week, even with fresh accounts.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're definitely right with that aspect.
So let me ask you this, like, right, what do you think about, I'll give it from my perspective. Like, what do you think about someone like me who says, "Hey, like I'm testing out different things and I have different interests, right? Like I'm not like limited to one thing. I don't want to just make videos about this specific thing. I want to, do multiple things, right? Maybe I want to have a mix of lifestyle, of like, traveling mixed with some motivational talks as well and some advice with music and music videos and music performances, right? And kind of a varied thing where even in multiple languages, like me, I speak three languages and I have content in all three languages, right? And
Mhm.
I'm curious what you would say about that yourself. Like, what you would recommend to not do it, to do it. I think personally, I would just say first, I think it's a long-term play, meaning you might not get a lot of reach in the beginning, but if you keep pumping out the volume, eventually you'll be able to touch more and more different audiences with your content and it'll grow. But I wanted to hear your perspective on that.
So personally, early on, I feel like if you don't have a following, you could test things out, but you also want to have the right direction you want your channel to go in. Like when I first started my account, I knew it was going to be based around the music business, you know? So even though I was testing doesn't mean do different content with different, languages and stuff like that, even though that could work for someone and it could work for Spanish and English or Portuguese and English, because
Yeah.
there's different languages that it works with, but in general, that's not a good thing to do. But with certain markets, it does work, you
So
know?
and that's why maybe you're kind of adding to the point of what I believe, which is like again, this is for me personally, right? I'll tell you, it's like I'm trying, even as we speak, like I have like a bunch of content I'm pumping out, right? Including these
Hmm.
podcasts, including this, including that, and I'm thinking like I'm noticing like not getting a lot of engagement on some of the stuff, right? But I am
Hmm.
noticing growth consistently the more I post, like new followers. Some people are engaging. I'm actually seeing growth, even though I feel like it feels bad. Like it feels like, oh man, this is not really getting, as much as I thought it would or whatever. But I'm actually growing when I actually look at the results of what I'm doing. And for
Hmm.
me, when you say like, oh, these things don't typically work, like I'm trying to build a brand based off me, my life, who I
Yeah,
am as an individual. And I know that's a long-term play, right? I'm not trying to be like
yeah.
this guy. I'm trying to be Rickson Satiro and my life and who I am and what I do and all the things involved in that, right? Which I think is a longer term play and maybe it's harder to grow in the beginning. But I do think that like if you build up the volume of content, eventually you create something that connects with people, then they'll be very interested in getting to know everything else that I've created. That's my philosophy and that's my strategy. We'll see how it goes and see the result. You're helping me a lot with that as well. But that's what I think in regards to that. Is that do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? What's your thoughts?
Uh, Honestly, I wouldn't say I disagree or agree. I would just say, in order for you to become popular, you have to find something that, and I wouldn't say you have to find something, but like, let's just say you put out a song and it went real viral, and then a lot of people followed you. That strategy would work from that point on because you already have people bought into your personal brand.
But I have something to add to that, right? Well, this is what I'm thinking in regards to this is like, okay, how do you get there? This it's more of advice for artists as well, something for them to apply. Because it's like, well, how do you just said, okay, you get that one hit song or you get that one hit piece of content. Okay, great. But how do you find that, right? How do you get there? How do you get to the point where you make something that's incredible that reaches a bunch of people? Well, you have to try. You have to do volume. You have to try a bunch of songs until something works, right? You have to try a bunch of videos until something works, or repeat the same style over and over again. Whatever it is, you have to do it at volume, right? You have to fail a lot in order to win. You have to be willing to
Hmm.
fail. So for me, it's like what you said right there is interesting because you said, okay, then if I blow up, then it makes sense. But what if I blow up and now I have this backlog of content? It's better than blowing up and having nothing. Because now you give something for people to actually become a fan of you for. For example, I have like an interview, it was like a 30-minute interview I shot of in 3 languages, right? And I
Yeah.
put like hundreds of clips out of this. It got very low engagement across all platforms. However, my philosophy is when I do blow up, there's going to be somebody that's going to go back and watch that and be like, holy shit, this is how he was thinking and what he was doing before he blew up. And they're going to become even more of a fan of me because of what is could exist there in the past. Right. So
Right.
that's my philosophy on it. Right. Like, because I'm like, I don't know exactly. I think as an artist, right, where a lot of people, you don't know what's going to bring you that viral moment, that success, that next level growth. But you have to focus on what you can control. So like I can control the fact that I can produce volume. And here's the thing, this is how I look at it, right? At the end of the day, brother, this is free advertising. Before the internet, you had to pay to get in front of people. It
Right.
was impossible. So there's no loss. Like if you put out 1,000 videos and they all flop and they suck, a million, you don't lose anything. You really don't lose anything. There's no loss to creating content and putting it out. You can't really lose if you just attack with volume. If you just keep going, you'll never lose. And that's also the mentality you have to have is that you'll never lose. Losing doesn't exist, but you'll never actually lose because what do you lose? What? People look at you weird because you don't have a lot of views? Nobody even cares, honestly. You care about that more than they do, right? We care
Mm-hmm.
about that. Like we get so this is goes into the psychology of being a creator. I was on a date with this girl today, and we were talking about this because she's a content creator as well, right? And she's like telling me like I'm not an influencer, I'm a content creator, right? And she started kind of getting like some traction, I think to like 25, 30,000 followers, right? Whatever, and kind of growing her stuff recently, she was telling me. And what she did is like she kind of hit the fuck it button at some point and started just putting out a bunch of content and then eventually started to grow, right? And hit that fucking moment. And she said like it wasn't like so great, but she just kept going and then eventually started to pick up.
Right.
And we were speaking about this and you know that the psychology of we were both talking about like for example she was very beautiful but she did more like creating content in a different way she wasn't a model but I'm like damn you could be a model she's like no I have a lot of friends that are models I don't want to be that because it's kind of exploitative you know and also people go through a psychological thing rappers we all go through this anybody that goes on camera a lot and their image is part of what they do as for work in any field has to go through the psychological problem, which is like you're constantly being compared, right? Especially models, right? Like whether male or female, like they go into a casting place and they're like, "Oh, your nose is too big, your eyes are this, your eye." They're like checking it, like they're an object, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you're insecure, or even if you are a secure person, it's hard to hear that stuff, right? So even on the internet, we're putting out our content, we're constantly comparing ourselves our image and also the quality of our content to all these other creators, all these other people that are doing so well or not doing well. Sometimes, right? We're always constantly in this comparison mode of trying to judge it against what other people are doing. And psychologically, that it's very heavy. And we get to a point where we start overthinking and we think like everybody's judging us and we feel judged. And this is the problem with that, right? And that's why I think I'm still working on it. But after I learned to really break that, I started seeing growth because the problem with that psychology is just, it's taxing, it's tiring, it drains all your energy that you could be putting into producing and creating and attacking your goals. You end up getting stressed, worrying about like stuff that doesn't even really matter, which has happened to me in the past when I was young, you know, like archiving posts, you know, because I don't want to be seen that way. And I didn't think it didn't get a lot of likes. So I'm like, whatever, you know, this song didn't do well. So I delete the song. You know, I've done it a lot, you know, or like I delete the song because I didn't like it. And there was people sometimes that hit me up and like, man, I really like that song. Where'd it go? You know? And so
Mm-hmm.
we end up hurting ourselves, I think, as creators, not just as artists, as all creators, when we get too caught up in the immediate result. Like what happened today? Like, did it get views today? Did it get views in this week? Like, there's no loss in
Yeah.
having more out. So that's my, philosophy on that.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the comparison thing, I definitely think that that's the biggest problem for a lot of creators is they try to compare themselves to everyone else instead of trying to do what works for them. And a lot of times you can compare your quality to people and think you need a different like setup or a different, camera or something like that, but really that specific setup that you're trying to copy might not work for you, you know?
Yeah.
Like or that style of content might not work for you. Like everyone is a different person, and we're visual people, so when we look at someone, we already assume about them, you know?
Yeah.
And if 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 someone sees me and they assume me to be a smart person and they see me talking about music marketing, that helps me a lot, you know?
Well, even something as simple as the fact that you wear glasses makes you look smarter.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like people look at me, they see the glasses, I'm always on the computer. They associate it with people who are like smart and tech savvy. And I am tech savvy, I am smart, but even when I first just started out, people always were telling me, "Man, you look like you work for Google or something," like
Yeah. No, you have
mm,
the like, and funny enough, it's like even with me, like sometimes I get the opposite. Like, for example, you said tech savvy. I'm very tech savvy, incredibly tech savvy, but I don't look it. You
mhm.
know, like it's like I
That's
get I
why,
get I get judged for being other things.
yeah,
And
you
so
have to,
sometimes I'm like, should I just lean into my strengths and do
yeah,
what people what people will expect visually, even like your hair, all that, right, has an impact, like how you look, how you dress, how you present
absolutely.
yourself.
If you ask Gary V what you should do, he would definitely be like lean into your strengths. Don't try to be something. I wouldn't say like people can assume stuff about you and it might not be who you are, but that can still be your strength, and you got to lean into that
Yeah,
in
you
order
could
to
use it
get,
for your benefit. It's
yeah.
like for I'll give you an
It's like
example.
having like a gift that you don't use.
It's like some women, like let's talk about like creators or influencers or models, right, that are very physically attractive, right? A lot of them, there's a lot of these women I've met, a lot of them that are they're incredibly intelligent as well. Like they're actually smart, intelligent, have other gifts. But people always assume maybe they're like a blonde, hot blonde girl, and they assume there's some dumb blonde. They assume they're not very intelligent because they're so beautiful. And typically that's what people associate that with, right? So a lot of these people, when they succeed, they lean into that strength. They're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna play dumb. I'm gonna play like the dumb blonde, so to speak, as an example, right? And even like a lot of rappers do this, you know? Like for example, when I look at someone like 6ix9ine, 6ix9ine is smart
Yeah.
as fuck. That motherfucker's intelligent. He's not dumb, but he plays dumb. He talks like a street like I'm not saying he's fake. What I'm saying is he plays dumb. He plays into what people think about him, what people assume about him,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and he uses that, and he leans into that, which is his strength, because the visual, how he looks, his hair, everything, the tattoos, right? Like he leans into it. He doesn't contradict the image he's presenting, and that's something I think
Right.
important, and maybe something like even me personally, I'm thinking of how I can improve that always, right? um because you have to be aware, like this we talked about before, being delusional, right, in your beliefs, but you have to be hyper aware on the opposite spectrum of how you are being perceived, because perception is reality, right? And that has to do with your sound. But in the modern world, when it comes to music artists, your visual, whatever, it doesn't mean music video, it just means your visual, how people are seeing you with their eyes, is actually, if not more, definitely 50%, maybe more in importance of how people are going to perceive what you create, whether it's music or whatever it is. But especially specifically talking about music, I know for 100% a fact, bro. If I have a good visual representation, it doesn't have to be a music video, but good visual, something that's dope, that it can literally make or break the song. People used to say like a good mix, like mixing engineers, right? A good mix can
Hmm.
make or break a record. I heard like Mix by Ali said that. I heard a lot of engineers say that. In my eyes, in the modern world, a good video can make or break a song. Like regardless of the quality of the song. By quality, we don't just mean like sound quality. We mean like the actual composition, the music, the lyrics, everything, right? Like how many songs that are like not really, nothing, but there was some kind of video made it go viral, or photos, right? Photos too, but
Yeah,
visuals, right?
video
So,
content is really important, even if it's not like a music video, just having like even influencers post
well,
dope
yeah, it could be
videos
photo.
too.
It could be photos too. It could be like, bro, it could be like hot Instagram girls just post your song on their photo when they post it. It could be something as simple as that, or like, or like celebrities are posting your photo of your song. Like it could be
Right.
anything. It could be them posting on your story. It doesn't have to be like a video, but what we're saying is something is visual. Mind you, where are people engaging with us right now on this podcast? They're watching it with their eyes on a video platform on a screen, right? We're not listening with our eyes closed like we might do with music. So everything is through devices on screens, right? And that's how we're
Hmm.
consuming people. We're consuming the content. It's like a lens. So because of that, if you have to be aware of how to manipulate that perspective. And when I say manipulate, I mean manipulate not in a negative way. I mean manipulate as in change their perception and that a lot of things, right? That's why I watch Hollywood movies. How much budget did they put into these movies, into the cinematography, into the acting, to the makeup, and the the getting the right actors and getting the right cinema, the lighting guys to get the lighting right and get the right scene and get the production and pre like there's it's such a huge task to create that world that we watch on a Hollywood cinema.
Yeah, that's true, but sometimes the organic feel is good too because there's
No,
this
but my
movie.
point my point is not that you need to do that high level of production. My point is that it's the attention to detail of how you're being perceived through a screen, right? Like
Yeah.
you might apply that same thing with just you and your selfie camera because it's how you're being perceived. For you, for example, people are perceiving you as someone that's teaching them even something as small as I give a little game because it's something I know you do. You usually shoot from low angles, right?
Hmm.
You don't shoot like this from above your head. You usually shoot below.
Yeah, I don't like the whole shooting
But do you
above.
know why? I know why you do that, but maybe you don't even know. Do you know why you do that?
I look better.
That's not why you do it. Well, that's not why you it works. When you're speaking, when someone is this is cinema photography. When you're looking at a picture and they're looking at you and you're above them, meaning you're shooting from below, you look bigger. They're below you. They're looking up to you
Yeah.
slightly.
Yeah.
That shows that you're an authority figure and
Yeah,
you're above them.
that's true.
It's that, but that's people do that in films, right? They learned that a long
Yeah.
time ago making films. It's a technique that's used, right, to make you appear
Hmm.
bigger than you are, and it gives that sense of like you're talking down to them, right? And,
Yeah.
like if you notice a lot of girls, they kind of do the opposite. They're from above their head. It makes you kind of look better sometimes too, but that also can give you effect that you're smaller. And again, all these are tricks that by what you see with your eyes changes your perception, right? So like things like that do matter, right? You might not know it logically, like I know, and just but if you learn techniques like that, it matters, and that's why I say be delusional in how you believe in yourself, but you do have to learn the fucking skills, right? You do have to learn how you're being perceived in sound as well, in music. Like I help artists all the time, and I show a lot of rappers that don't really understand anything about music theory and scales and how to hit the right notes. And I'm like, brother, your idea is great, but the notes are completely off, and that's not going to give the listener the feeling that you're trying to invoke in the song. You have to hit these notes and these frequencies that actually invoke those feelings that you're trying to evoke. So just change it. Change the song sometimes. You got to change the song structure to make it fit your voice better and change the scale, hit different notes, same words. This is the art of of creating art, of the art of creating art, right? It's manipulating the senses. This is what people that make food do. This is what chefs do. They're putting different seasonings and spices and different flavors together to change your experience when you eat something,
Right.
right? You're doing the same thing when you're running marketing campaigns, right? You're testing different techniques, different placements, different creatives, different timing, different demographics, and you're able to find a combination of something that gives you a better result, right?
Mm.
So I think that, but you see how all of that I just talked about, if you're psychologically stuck on like do I look good in this photo or or should I delete this because it didn't get many likes or what should how many videos should I post like stupid shit like that. You'll never think about this stuff that actually matters because you're too like fucked up focused on this thing that doesn't affect you, right? It's a trap. That's why fear is the worst thing you can have, man. You got to eliminate the fear.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the whole organic thing, I feel like it works for some people, but in most cases you're right. But so every now and then, like even with the movies and stuff, like you ever heard of the movie Obsession?
Is that Steven Spielberg?
I'm not sure who made it, but they
A new
spent a
movie?
million, huh?
It's a new movie?
Yeah.
I think Steven
it's
Spielberg's movie. There, let me look
I
it
think
up. But
he's
go ahead.
they spent $1 million to make the
Is
movie,
that?
and they made four
Oh no,
hundred
I'm so
million.
sorry. That's not a Spielberg film. Yeah, I was like, I don't think Spielberg would ever do a film for only 1 million, but I see it here. Obsession. I haven't seen it, but tell me about it. It recently came out.
Yeah, so they spent $1 million to create the movie, a very low budget, and they made $400 million.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, that hasn't been done in the movie industry in a long time, that kind of
Yeah,
margin.
that's what
But
I
this is what
mean.
I'm saying, and I'm agreeing with what you're saying. Just to clarify, when I'm saying all this stuff, I'm not saying spend more money. But you
Hmm.
see, why were they able to make such a great film for 1 million and make 400 million? Because they have skills. Whoever
Right.
made this film is incredible at the art of filmmaking. So much so that they were able to do incredible work with a small budget, right?
Right.
Just throwing money at a problem is not actually a real solution. If you're good, you do it with for less, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to charge more. Like you don't need more money. More money doesn't make it better. Like if, for example, let's say I'm like a producer and I want to get like musicians to play like instruments in my production. Well, if I can play every instrument, my budget is zero. I don't have to hire any instrumentalist, right? If my friend, if I have close relationships with all these musicians, and I can get them to come to my house and play every part I need, then that lowers my budget and it comes out. You get what I'm saying? Versus if I
Hmm.
just had money to throw at the problem and I'm just spending more money, because I have to hire this guy, hire this guy, hire this guy. Whereas if I can do it myself or have a different way or a low cost way of doing it, it gives me more margin, right? So it's not about like overspending, right? Or overdoing it, right? Like sometimes you might have to look at your time as like a resource and be like, okay, well, the amount of time it would take for me to do all this, it makes more sense to do it organically because I can just repeat it, right? For example. And you said something about like organic, like more organic content. Like I'm gonna be real with you. I test everything, but like the selfie style, like how you do, right? Doesn't really work well for me personally in terms of like the result. It doesn't work as well for me as something like more produced, like a music video or like how I'm talking
Right.
to you here now with this kind of nicer little setup or um actually taking pictures of me. For example, right? If I to put a selfie on my story, right? I could look good too. I'm not a bad looking guy, right? Won't really get crazy amounts like likes or girls hitting me up or something like that, right? Because that's usually a good indicator of like if something's good is get people's attention. Whereas if I like get a really good photo of me, like not me taking the photo, but like put it on a tripod or somebody take it of me and it's like it's a
Right.
cinematic, like in the moment, it looks like it was kind of candid. Maybe I'm posing a bit. Those pictures will get the attention a lot more, right? And there's a reason why. There's a reason why if you watch films, Malco, Hollywood films or any films, they never look into the camera lens ever, unless they're trying to purposely break the fourth wall. Fourth wall, for people who don't know, is the perception that you're watching a movie, right? Like if you're watching a movie, like remember in Wolf of Wall Street, there's a point in the beginning where he looks into the camera and he's talking about how his life is, and then he goes back into his life. It's like a split. Scorsese does this sometimes.
Hmm.
Remember? In the beginning,
Yeah.
he's like drinking, he throws a drink, he's out of his mansion, because he's narrating that part and he's talking into the camera. That's called breaking the fourth wall. He's talking to you. And then it transitions where you're watching the film and it feels like you're in a world witnessing it, but you're not actually a part of it. You're observing it, right? That's a
Yeah.
technique in cinema, and that's why they don't look at the camera lens because it breaks the fourth wall, right? You realize this person's being filmed, but when they don't look at it, you don't realize the camera's there. It feels like real life. It feels like you're observing this in real life. So for cinematic content, cinematic doesn't mean oh it looks cool. Cinematic means it looks like a film, right? It feels like a world that you want to be a part of. They usually don't look into the camera that much, even with photos with like looking, right? And now this might sound like, oh, who cares? But it does make a difference with how you perceive something. And this is all about how you perceive what you're seeing on a photograph or a video. Right? Videos are just moving photographs, by the way. So photographs are really what they are. They're just moving photographs. That's why right now you're watching this video at 30 frames per second. We're recording my things at 30 frames per second. That just means there's 30 photos every second, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, the next topic we're going to talk about is, as a musician who's up and coming with no money, you're kind of like a startup business,
Correct.
so a lot of musicians don't look at it like this, but you got to do what a startup business does. Like you got to look at your career and your statistics, and you got to analyze what's working, what's not working, where you're
Yeah, and I
going
do think
to
you have to find a way to you have to find a way to get capital at some point in some way.
yeah.
Like I've met people who did startup businesses. None of them started with zero money. Very rare. Unless you're in a service-based business where you can do a task and get paid for it. It's very rare, extremely rare. Or you, like you said, you have another source of income, another a job or a business that you take the funds and redistribute in that because you have to have capital to survive. And even as an artist, like, bro, it's very difficult to like be creative, work on your music, do all this stuff, be dedicated, and you have like 8 hours a day at a job. And then plus your social life and plus this and plus that. It's how are you going to compete against top artists in the world who already have fans and are fully dedicated with teams and this is their 100% job, just a career, right? And you're starting off, you have nothing except your abilities and your skills. I think you can take advantage of it. I'm not saying don't, right? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that you have to find some creative way, right? And don't listen to all these people tell you, like all these companies like Amazon and stuff. And like, you know how like Jeff Bezos pitches, oh, Amazon started as a garage and stuff. Yeah, it's true, kind of. But he also got a big loan from his parents to start that business. That's actually true, right? I have a friend who started a business called SoundCloud, for example. It's out of San Diego. They do very well. And I remember when they first started. And again, one of the owners, who was my cousin, he had, I think it was like 50 grand. I don't remember what it was, but he had a certain amount of capital saved up. And his partners also got money that they got loaned from their parents. They put together money and they were all
Right.
partners and they started a business. They were using that money for like budgeting for keeping them alive, really, like essentially keeping them alive so they could focus on the business. They were using it for advertising budget eventually, right? Like you have to have some kind of even if it's just a savings so you can focus on your career for a period of time knowing there's no money coming in.
Right. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah, so I do think you have to I'm not saying there's one way. And to be fair with you, I didn't do that. I tried doing it, that didn't work out that well for me. I'd always kind of go back and forth. But that's why. But had I done that, I do think I would have had better. I won't say better success earlier, but I would recommend that is what I'm trying to say. Um, Now, if you, it depends all on your situation. We can't really say this, but if you do have to look at it as a startup business, yes, right? The problem with music, man, we're talking about music artists, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Music is it's hard to profit up front. It's hard to pay your bills. Because, for example, let's say we're printing t-shirts. Maybe you have a different opinion on this. You could share some insight for people. But like, let's say I'm printing t-shirts, right? Selling t-shirts. Let's say uh, let's say I'm selling Coca-Cola. It's the biggest brand in the world. You know the reason we celebrate Christmas and there's a Santa Claus. Coca-Cola created Santa Claus. I don't know if you know that. They actually created him. He's
Yeah.
created, yeah. The concept of Santa Claus was created by Coca-Cola. So imagine I'm selling this Coke Zero here. I can buy it and I can sell it and make a profit. People will buy it for the fact of what it is. If I sell a t-shirt, right, people can buy it, sell a product. Music, especially now in the streaming era, even back in the CD era, you could. It was still difficult though. It's hard to make your profit up front, right? What are you going to sell? You're selling yourself, but it's not even like it's like prostitution, except you don't get paid. It kind of is, right? Like you're selling
Mm-hmm.
yourself and who you are and trying to get all his attention. And then sometimes artists pay, like many artists, right? Like they pay, those like tours that they do shows where you pay to go perform, you
Yeah,
pay to get your
definitely.
music heard, you pay for advertising, right? You're paying to get seen, and there's no real system set up most of the time when you're starting up because you don't know how to actually get income off of the attention that you grab. How many influencers do we know that have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, and they're not really making good money at all because they don't know how to do it correctly. They don't know how to what do you call it?
Yeah.
Capitalize off of their attention.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of influencers that, don't have a big following and they're making a lot of money, So it's like it just depends on who you are and what your business structure is and, how you're, like I said, you got to know what's working, like there's a lot of different things that you got to do to become successful. You got to get exposure, you got to figure out that part. Some people figured out that part but haven't figured out the other things. Some people are really good at like selling and it's providing services. And you don't need that many people to know about you to survive that way because if you have 1,000, if you have like 10,000 followers and 1,000 of them want to buy from you, I mean, and they keep returning, you can be rich forever.
But
So
let's
it's
say
like,
we're talking about music artists, right? But as a music artist, how the fuck do you do that?
I mean, there's ways. There's musicians that have like 4,000 monthly listeners and they're on bands in town. They're doing shows. They're on Gig Salad. They're doing shows. They might have like a little, fan base of people that pay for
Yeah,
their
but the problem is
merchandise and
they're not making that's not real money. What the fuck? Like most of the time they're doing stuff like that, they can barely pay their expenses. They can barely pay their they can't even survive off that really. It's not like they're making banking good money, is what I'm trying to say, right? It's difficult. That's what I'm saying. I'm as an artist myself, I'm talking about it's difficult in the upfront, in the beginning. It's usually on the back end to make great money with music. And when I say great money, I don't mean rich, I mean like super fucking balling, like top 1%. I mean just enough to like compared to a decent job, like a decent wage, of
hmm
even making 50,000 a year, you know what I'm saying? Like something like that. But and by the way, it's not just about making 50,000 a year. It's about profiting over your expenses. Because for example, I live in Brazil right now, and $50,000 would be 250,000 reais. To a lot of people, that'd be a pretty big salary in this country. However, if you're living in America, your expenses are higher. So it doesn't equal out. And also, if you're a musician, you're traveling, you're doing this, you're doing that, like your expenses go up, right? Like, and what if you have a family? And what do you have this, right? And I'm just saying, there's so all these factors. That's why making the music game is one of the most challenging things to have success in. Like, if you
yeah,
can do that
it's
business, you can probably do a lot of other businesses a lot easier, I would say.
yeah, music is definitely one of the hardest things to make it in, It's not for everyone, in a sense, because I feel like the way the game is set up right now, it's based around streaming and stuff like that, and it's just like a different, a different business structure. It's not like how it used to be. Even like with shows and stuff like that, like you can make good money with shows, but that's a lot of active work, As a musician, you want to be able to make money in your sleep. And I
Yeah,
think,
the key is hits. Look, the money maker of the music industry since its inception has been hit records. Point blank period. What is a hit record? Hit record is a very well marketed record that does well and it gets inside of people's brains and they love it and want to hear it over and over and over again for a specific situation. For example, I was out at a nightclub right now. It's like playing a lot of Spanish music. It's like a Latin club, right? And they're playing like all kinds of songs. Bad Bunny, new bachata, Romeo Santos, et cetera, et cetera. Like, why are these artists being played, right? Why is there not some artists that nobody heard of being played in the same genre? Why? Because it's a nightclub. They want to sell, drinks and have people at their club. So they need to play songs that people know. Why do a lot of people know these songs within that genre or niche? Because these artists are very well marketed. They learn what is good marketing. It's very simple. It's getting attention and getting the attention of the marketplace that you're trying to reach, right? Like if let's say there's a part of town that we live in where all the people sell groceries, like a farmer's market, right? Well, where would we want to be if we wanted to sell some food? We probably want to be in the farmer's market, right? Where the market is, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
like this. Like, then, so what would be good marketing? Well, good marketing would be setting up a booth in the farmers market, and maybe everybody has it green, and we make ours pink, and we put like, you know, like this crazy looking design that looks different than everybody else and catches your attention. And maybe we say, hey, there's a bunch of, you know, kind of bored, like low energy people serving at these other ones. We're going to put some young girls that are really attractive, that are very social and smiling and full of energy. And we're going to put them in the booth and we're going to kill it because we're in the market and we learn how to get the attention of the marketplace. So with music, it's the same way. We have to put ourselves in the market, meaning where those potential fans are. However, we have to create what we're offering be able to stand out in a way that grabs everybody's attention. Stand out doesn't mean it has to be different, but you do have to stand out from the marketplace so people pay attention to you. Or maybe you're collabing with somebody else that already has. That's what artists do a lot when they're coming up. This is one thing about the music game. There's never been a single artist in human history who has made it without a cosign ever. Name one. You can't. I mean, I would love if you could, but you can't. I don't mean artists that's like cool. No, I mean big artists, right? Big mainstream
Yeah.
artists. Never, every single one has had a cosign from somebody at some point in their career, right? Now, why is that? Because you're introducing them to the marketplace. If everybody knows, like even Michael Jackson was a kid, he was in Jackson 5 and he was around all those big stars, and then, you know, think Whitney Houston or whatever. No, it wasn't Whitney Houston. I'm sorry, but like, James Brown. It's like rappers. You could go on and on. I could go on for hours. This doesn't matter. It's not about the details. The point is everybody gets put on. Elvis Presley got put on by like these other like, black rock and roll artists that were like actually popping in that industry before. But he was like a white guy doing what the black guys were doing, and they were like they never seen this shit, so he blew up with all the fucking white America. When I say white, I don't mean the racist way. I just mean like white America, right? Like Caucasian Americans, and like Elvis, one of the biggest artists of all time. I study him a lot, right? Study his career a lot. So this is what I'm trying to say. And he had a very great businessman, which was Colonel Packer, Colonel. I can't say that word for some reason right now, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, he had that guy who had 50-50 split with him and everything and did run all his business. And that was the first music artist to ever do merchandising, bro. He had like posters with him, toys, anything with Elvis's face on it he would use, he would create and sell. And that made Elvis more famous. Why? Because for example, if you let's say like that's why merchandising is important. Let's say you sell, a cup, right? A mug, something as simple as a coffee mug, and you have your face on it. Your face, Promogod.
Mm-hmm.
And you sell it in a store. Let's say it's in the store in LA, right? Where everybody goes on Rodeo Drive or something. Or, the Grove, whatever. And it's just there, your face, where people maybe at Starbucks, coffee mug, promo god, and it's your face and it's Starbucks selling your. People are not everybody's gonna know who you are. People would buy it maybe just because they're like, I just need a coffee cup, and it just happens to be that your face is on it. But now they look at it and they're like, who the fuck is this guy? And now they've seen your face before on a coffee cup, and then now when they see you somewhere else, they're like, oh shit, this is the guy for the coffee cup. Oh, who is this guy? It creates a. You're right. You're everywhere. That was just a random example, but it could be with different things, right? But and really, that's how we figure this out. It's like, how can you associate your image, your name, your brand, your music, everything that you have, right? Your brand essentially, with the marketplace that you're trying to reach and get inside of people's psychology. That's the ultimate goal, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, definitely it's a big part of it, you know. But yeah, so you don't do you agree with my statement that you're start a business as a musician? Um, do you feel like that's fair, or
Yeah, of
you
course. I
think it's
mean,
a little bit?
I guess I ranted a little bit on that topic, right? I went a little deep on it, but yes, you are a startup business. Unless you don't want to look at it like a business, that's totally fine. But I would say there's a creativity in entrepreneurship, and it's very similar to a startup business, right? Or maybe, some people are not meant to be this way. And maybe you need to get around to start a business, and actually just be an artist. Like for example, Kendrick Lamar, one of the biggest artists in the world, he got signed to TDE when he was young, like 16. They were like a label from, Watts, South Central, et cetera, different cities. Carson was actually, I think, where they were based out of their studio, right? So like
Hmm.
he was in Compton, right? But he put out mixtape. He did treat like he put out mixtapes with Dave Free, who was his best friend, his manager, and then that's how he got, noticed by these guys from TDE, et cetera. J Rock was involved, right? And they got him signed. But he signed to an independent label. And while he was under that independent label, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of what he did on a day to day, but I'm trying to tell you is that he focused as an artist and had his label handling the business. Most artists, this is how they operate. Very rare people that actually are like really super involved in the business side of the music.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you definitely needed money to operate as a record label, but I think, because of content, things have changed. That's why I was
Well,
saying, like,
you do need money, right? I mean, you need a phone, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I mean, you can't
no, but
be,
I know I have to. You have to understand something. Like, there's people. I live in Brazil. There's people who they're like I invested in the iPhone 14 Pro this year. Like like as a production tool. Like what I'm trying to tell you is like not everybody has a good phone with like a
yeah,
good camera. Not everybody even has the basic tools, right? And that is like an investment for some people, right?
right.
And so we can't say no money. No, you do need money. Let's be real. If you have no money, zero money, or your parents like somebody's gonna have money, because what are you gonna do without money, right? We're not saying no money, obviously, but you do have to be resourceful, right? Like maybe you don't have money, but you have an iPhone, right? Or maybe you don't have money, but you know your brother or your close friend is a producer, or he's a marketer, or or you have a friend who's an influencer and you can kind of work with them and they show you how to get on, or right. It's called being resourceful, right? Maybe you have no money and you're nobody, but you have a phone and you're fucking hot. Like you're physically attractive and people think you're good looking. Use that to your advantage. Maybe you're intelligent and you can speak about your intelligence and get attention that way. Maybe you're, whatever, right? Again,
Yeah.
I saw this girl who like there was like this neurologist, I think it was she made like a video about headaches, like talking about headaches. And this it's a funny video. Like this girl, she had like a huge forehead, right? Like huge forehead. I forgot the woman's name. But huge forehead. Like, so all the comments were like hating on her. Like people were just talking shit, mad shit about like, damn, she must really know about headaches, et cetera. It was kind of funny.
Mm.
She had a huge forehead and she was a neurologist and she made this video about headaches and it went viral and it like super stupid viral, right? But guess what? That blew her up. And then people started like looking at her actual old videos about neurology and stuff like that, and it blew her up, you know? So
Yeah.
like sometimes it's not even what you think, but it's like you see like her big ass forehead actually helped her like because it fit with what she was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to use what you have and present it in the best way possible. And it's definitely like a startup business, man. I mean, if you treat it that way and you start taking it seriously, you can have fun, but take it seriously. You got to want it, man. At the end of the day, there's nothing's promised, man. You know, nothing's promised. Not even life is promised. You have
Yeah.
to be obsessed, man. You have to be obsessed. You have to be like I saw an old Michael Jackson interview. He said, be a scientist. You have to be a scientist with this shit. You have to know everything about it and want to know everything about it and learn everything and give it your all and understand every fucking element, right? Study it, practice it, do it. And that's why people say you're talking about startup businesses. Most of the people that started up successful businesses, think of like Steve Jobs, et cetera, Elon Musk, whatever. They talk about passion a lot, right? They say be passionate about what you do. People misinterpret that because I hear a lot of things. People say, follow your passion. People say, fuck your passion. People say you get passionate about what you get good at, right? Many people have different opinions on this. But my opinion is very different, which is the reason they say follow your passion is because you have to be passionate to be competitive, or it's very difficult. Because if you're not passionate, you'll give up when it's hard.
Yeah.
Like you're passionate about music and marketing, right? You're very passionate
Hmm.
about it. If you weren't passionate about it, you probably gave up a long time ago. When it got hard, you'd be like, man, fuck this shit. Like I know I'm passionate about music because I put in so much to it and got back so little in the past, right? Like I've bled for it. I've given it my all. Had I not had a passion for it, dude, I would have gave up like fucking at 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? I would have gave up. I'd be like, ah, then fuck this music shit. I don't know about this shit. It's too hard. Why did I keep going? Because I was passionate about it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely have to have passion just so you can get through the hard parts and,
I
you
don't
know,
think you
keep
have
going.
to be correct. I apologize to cut you off, but I don't think you have to. But good luck making it to the top of the top without it. It's very challenging, right? Very
Yeah,
challenging. It doesn't mean you can't have success, like win or have financial success, but good luck being at the very top. Maybe you don't want to be at the very top, and that's fine, but good luck. Because at the very top, you're gonna struggle, right? You might be able to get good, but with music, you need to be great. And when I say good and great, there's a difference, right? I don't mean like you're good at making songs. I mean you have confidence in yourself, right? You know who you are. With music and creativity, even like entertainment, it's not about like acting, right? It's not about who's the prettiest, who's the hottest, who's the best, who's the most intelligent. Confidence is something that comes across off on screen, even on the microphone and audio a lot. I used to say this with artists. It's like, bro, you have to sing like you mean it, right? You have to rap your verse like you mean it. Like, what does that mean? Well, with confidence, when it feels like you believe what you are saying, even if you don't actually, if it's not true, but you feel it looks like or feels like or sounds like you believe it. You have a lot of conviction in what you're doing. So I believe that confidence is more important than being good. Actually believing in what you're doing and sticking through it, right? And learning how to better exude that through what you do.
absolutely. Yeah, confidence is everything for sure. Um, what I was gonna say is, yeah, so the next topic is clipping, you know. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about clipping and why it's important. Um, a lot of artists are like always talking about new marketing strategies and what's working, but clipping is something that's working really well. You know, a lot of people talk about how, you know, how do most people blow up? How do certain people like Andrew Tate or, you know, Drake or, you know, whoever it is, these streamers, how do they get so popular? A lot of it has to do with clipping, you know, and what clipping is like people take different sections of your live streams, different parts of stuff that you've, you know, maybe posted on social media and they repost it on other accounts, talking about you, you know, giving a reaction. So it's almost kind of like seeding, but it's more like deliberate in the sense of taking, you know, different clips and parts of your podcast. Like for example, like this podcast, we can hire clippers to take different parts of what we're both talking about, and we can have them all post the clips on different accounts and just kind of talk about us and get us out there. And the reason why that works is because these days, you know, having people talk about you and post about you just shows a lot of relevancy, you know, and a lot of people like Neon and I Show Speed, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to clip their content, you know, every single month, just so that they can get in front of, you know, different people, stay relevant,
Yeah.
stay in people's news feed. And it's just like, you know, if you have your own account and you post one podcast, that's not as effective as, you know, posting one podcast and having a thousand other accounts post different clips of your account, you know? So like what do you think about that?
Yeah, there's two elements to the clipping. I'll first talk about the creative element, and there's the marketing creative element as well, right? So the first element, which is the creative element, is the actual clipping, right? Let's talk about what that is. So it's taking longer form content and making it shorter form content. Point blank period, right?
Right.
What is short form content? We're talking about 9:16 aspect ratio on platforms like YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Reels, and TikTok, etc. It can be on Twitter, it can be on X, I'm sorry, you know, and all the different platforms too. Facebook has Reels as well. But the point is you're taking long form content and making it short form. And that's the creative element. Now, there's the marketing element, which is you are taking your content and redistributing it on multiple platforms, multiple pages on multiple platforms versus just distributing it on your main one. You talked about Andrew Tate. He blew up on TikTok without ever having a TikTok himself, for example, right? He became all you would see was him on TikTok for
Yeah.
that year where he had his little run, right? Or big run, I would say. And he never had a TikTok ever. He had Instagram, but he never had a TikTok. Even now, like he's always making new Instagrams and getting banned, but he has like 10 of them. You don't know which one's actually his, right? And but he was the first person, not the first person to do it. I saw music artists doing this, bro. I can't remember this girl's like a it's like a Latin artist, and they were doing this with her. Like artists were doing this before. I've seen people do this before, but he was the first one to like become internationally blow up and go from somebody that was relatively unknown to really globally known with this strategy. But there's things that people don't realize. Like, for example, you know who did this recently? Drake. You know, remember he put out 100 gigs? You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So he just uploaded 100 gigs, or was it more than 100? Yeah, it was like 100 gigs. Like, it might have been more on a website, random website that just looked like a Reddit thing, like just links that he uploaded, and it was like all the footage from all his career that he had. I don't know, maybe he has more, but it was like a shit ton. It was like his, nothing was the same. Studio sessions that had never been released before. Old interviews from when he was young. Studio sessions from this.
Right.
Studio sessions from that. He put all this like unreleased BTS footage that his team had probably recorded over the years. Him on tour and like rehearsing his show on tour with his vocal coach, like all kinds of shit. And you know what people did is they took all this content and clipped it up, right?
Right.
Fans probably did it too, maybe because these people have diehard fans, but I'm pretty sure some of this was instigated as well, like with clippers, right? Now with someone
Right.
like Drake, he didn't go on WAP and say, "Hey, clip my content," right? But
Yeah.
they're doing some covert marketing strategies and paying people, I'm sure, to get this done. And at the same time, he probably has real actual fans that, do this as well, right?
Right.
Um, but when you talk about like other influencers, yeah, like Chait, like he did that, So it's an effective strategy. Who knows how long it'll work? It still works. It's not new. I mean, it's fucking people been doing it for like over 5 years or more now, but it still works actually. Um, Maybe we should do that actually. Like I said, there's the two elements, right? There's a creative element of clipping and making the videos. That's one thing. But I'm talking about the marketing element of clipping. It's just having people repurpose your content on different pages. You can even do that yourself, but it makes more sense to have other people doing it. So like you go on WAP, that's what people do now. You can go on sites and you could create a clipping campaign. We should maybe do that for artists actually. We should have clipping campaigns for artists. We can do that. And we can basically have create clipping campaigns where we get clippers and they're gonna make all these content and post it on these different sites. And the way it works is they have like benchmarks, right? So if you get a certain amount of views, the clipper gets paid out a certain amount,
Right.
and then it's all tracked. You have to like submit it and see the views, and then that's how you figure out, So like, let's say you have a clipping. Let's say we had a clipping campaign for somebody, and let's say for me, Rickson Satiro, we put that out like a clipping campaign for Rickson Satiro's new song, right? And then it'd be like $10,000 campaign budget, let's say, right? And then we put
Mm-hmm.
in there like you get this many views, you get paid, this much per this much views, and then once anybody can submit, and then once that campaign budget is done, then it's done, and then we pay out the people who hit the certain amount of views. It could be a bunch of people getting a little bit of views, or it could be one person that got a shit ton of views, right? That takes up most of the budget. But that's what essentially what people are doing to kind of explain, to people like that's what clipping is. And it's a great strategy.
Definitely.
It's a great strategy.
Yeah, it's definitely like a very effective strategy. Um, and in the recent in the current moment.
It works because I think also for the algorithm, you become a niche. Like we talked about Tate right there, Andrew Tate, like he became a niche. Like, have you noticed that with certain people? Like, if you watch their content, you get showed more of their content from different accounts
Yeah.
because they become a niche. They become the interest. Imagine promo god is an interest, for example. Like, you're not a person, you're an interest, right? If and that's what I was saying earlier about like me, like trying to do that, right? Like as an artist, you can also on another level is become the niche. You are the interest. People are interested in you, right? And your interest is linked to other things, right? Like for example, certain artists or certain influencers, they might be linked to like, personal growth or motivation or business or entertainment or fun or right. And ultimately, what's all linked to is an emotion, right? So someone like a big influencer, like you mentioned, Tate, like there's an emotion involved when people think of him, right? Even when you think of like the hottest, influencer supermodel that you just think is really hot, like there's an emotion associated when you think of that person. Your favorite music artist, there's an emotion their music gives you, and you associate that feeling with that person. So if you can associate whatever you're creating, putting out there, influencing with a certain type of emotion, it's more powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Um, okay, the next topic we have is haters and how to deal with hate. Uh, so I mean, I feel like most people,
I'll
they
tell you
might
how I
get a
deal with haters. I'll tell you how I deal with haters. Like this. You know what I'm saying? Just fuck off. That's all you can do. What are you gonna do?
yeah,
You should be
honestly,
happy when you
I
get
I don't
haters.
I don't even think about haters just for the simple fact that, I get more positive comments than haters. And like even a lot of people do, they just choose to focus on the negative people, and I
Yeah.
think like a lot of people are like just not comfortable with hearing people like say something about them, but personally I'm like the total opposite, I get I laugh at people when they hate on me, I just like
Well,
it's just a loser.
yeah, I mean, I think it's I get kind of happy. I'm like, because I look at it logically. I know the algorithm is gonna see this as engagement and grow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you'll
So,
definitely grow from it for sure.
I
But
mean, but if we're being real, like obviously it's especially with something like music artists, right? Like it's a very personal thing, right? So if you're getting hate, it really like imagine you put in all this effort into a song and someone's like, this shit's fucking trash. Well, but this guy should fucking go kill himself. Oh, he should go quit. Like, you have to have skin, but I'm just saying I can understand why it'd be challenging to like have to deal with that, right? Which is why I
right.
have to tell you, like, hate usually comes from below, almost never comes from above. So if someone's hating on you,
Yeah, it's always someone
no.
that doesn't have a profile picture or something, like some troll.
Yeah, because you
Um,
have to. I've
it might
like,
be kids too. Like a lot of us are grown ass
have you
people and
ever left a negative comment on anything?
no,
I don't think so
unless I'm
either.
trying to troll, but
I
a
never got
lot
into
of
trolling, but
kids,
yeah.
I think a lot of these haters are like kids, 13-year-old kids pretending to be people that are older and they're talking shit, and then people that are like 30, 40, 50, they're looking at this 13-year-old comment and like really like obsessing about it, and I'm like, it's probably a fucking kid just trolling you.
That's true. That's a good point.
Because that's what I used to do when I was a kid, and not not a kid, but I was like maybe 15, 16 when
It's kind of like when you play
MySpace
Call
came
of
out.
Duty and you're just talking shit in Xbox Live
Yeah,
lobbies,
yeah,
back in the day,
yeah,
like
like
you're just
like
like,
that
fuck
type of
you.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like just childish type of thing. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, a lot of it is like that. And yeah, ultimately, you just have to deal with it. It's part of the game. It's part of getting attention.
If you look at any successful person like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, they all get a lot of hate.
I mean,
It's
Elon
part of
Musk,
being,
Donald Trump, fucking Bill Gates, fucking
yeah, it's
Jay-Z, you go on and on,
even me, I get
any
a lot of hate from certain people that think, like they don't like the way I do my business, but
yeah.
it's all part of being popular. Like they don't go to someone who's not popular and do that, that they don't know who they are. It's all about people that the world knows of. People want to say stuff about like Grant Cardone or me or whatever and call us, like scammers and stuff like that. But
Yeah, people hate on Michael Jackson, most famous guy on the
yeah,
planet. I mean, let's be real. They hate on Jesus Christ. They killed him. They put him on a cross. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
like everybody that's been influential and famous has had nothing but hate. It's something about human beings that we just love to hate. So,
Yeah, I think it comes from like people being I would say insecure about themselves and they just kind of try to project stuff onto you.
yeah, most things are projections, and human beings, we operate like mirrors. So, oftentimes what you say about other people is truly what they make you feel, not necessarily a representation of what they are, but what they're receiving. Meaning, like, some people, like, let's say I look at somebody right now, see somebody, I'm like, wow, you're beautiful. Right? Like, wow, you're beautiful. This might sound a little strange. I hope it makes sense. What I believe is that that person is not necessarily beautiful or not. What it is when I look at that person, something about them reflects back the feeling of beauty to me. And then I express that to them, which is
Right.
why, because beauty is objective, and they say it's beauty is not the beholder, but in some ways it is objective, right? Symmetry, etc. And I mean, there's many things like how do you classify beautiful art, right? Like me and we could both look at the same painting, and I could say, "Wow, it's absolutely beautiful. It's incredible. Speaks to me." And you could look at the art and be like, "Bro, looks like shit," or whatever, right? You could have your opinion.
You're right.
So and that's what I'm saying. It's not what I say or what you say doesn't make what the painting is or isn't true. It doesn't identify whatever we're looking at, right? If we both look at the same person, let's say we see a girl and I'm like, man, she's beautiful. And you'd be like, oh, nah, she's not really my type. She's kind of weird or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean that any of us are right. It's just how we feel when we are reflected that image back to us. So it's similarly with what we talked about with hate. It's not that what they're saying is true. And then, by the way, the positive comments too are not true.
Hmm.
Both are not. It's just the reflection that's going back to that person based on their own internal dialogue and what they see in you. So sometimes you reflect something in them that they don't like to see. So their automatic reaction, is to hate on you.
Right.
But sometimes you might reflect something that they like to see in themselves, and their automatic reaction is to love you. But regardless of their reaction, it doesn't change what you created.
Yeah, I feel like everything's subjective, you know?
Yeah, very few things are objective, but there are some.
Right.
Even objectiveness is subjective because it can change.
Right.
Like where everything is constantly in a state of change and movement and growth and evolution, including the human race, including our planet, including
Unless you're
life
a
itself.
rock.
Well, no, a rock is evolving as well. What is a rock?
I'm not sure. It's minerals or something.
Right, and it's bunched up together over time. Like
Hmm.
how, like if you ever seen one of those like an island, how does an island form, right? So the heat and the cool water like make rock, it builds the foundation, right? Like if you put lava and then you cool it down, right? The molten rock and then water, it's gonna form into hard rock. Rock is it's pieces of mountains that are right. That's what I'm trying to say. They're minerals exactly.
Hmm.
They're actually alive. They don't have a consciousness necessarily that
Right.
we're aware of, but they're alive. There's energy there. Like, you're gonna tell me gold is not alive? It's an energy. We use it. It's in fucking our computers, right?
Yeah.
So everything is vibrating at a certain frequency. These colors behind my chair here are vibrating at the color frequency. Our voices are vibrating at a frequency right now, going to these microphones, and they're transmitting across the internet thousands of miles and going through another frequency out to you. How you think all this works? It's there's a lot of details into how the frequency is transmitted, and we interpret frequencies through our senses, right? And
Right.
that's so when you realize this kind of stuff, like people might say, "Well, Rickson, why the fuck you talking about this? What the fuck does this got to do with haters?" Well, this has to do with haters. Is you understand that everything is a frequency, energy, and vibration. So when they're sending that back to you, you can flip that. You can revert the energy. You can use it as fuel. You can take the hate, absorb it, kamehameha, and shoot it back, and actually turn it into love, turn it into growth, turn it into fuel to attack your objective, turn it into more and more creativity, more songs. That might lead you to your best idea, right? That
Right.
might push you forward. Sometimes maybe the hate shows you something that you didn't even realize that, and it's kind of true. Like, oh, I didn't think about it like that, but it comes across as hate. You got to be careful too of what you identify as a hater. Like when I say a hater, I don't say like you disagree with me. That's not a hater. right? Or you have an opinion that I don't agree with. That's not a hater. A hater is just somebody who says something irrelevant. You know what I mean? That's just like pure hate,
Hmm.
right? Like when I posted that video with the AI thing, and then people were like, "Oh, go, go to a wood chipper. Go like basically go off yourself, go kill yourself." Like, yeah, it's hate, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, it had nothing to do with anything. But if someone comes in and says, "Well, I disagree with that because this, that, that," I'm like, okay, all right, well, I might still disagree, but it's not like hate, you know? Like
Yeah.
hate is not, oh, this song I didn't really connect with. Hate is like, this song is trash. That's hate. It's like, bro,
Right.
trash? Like, really? You know? But people hate on athletes. Oh, this guy's trash. Like for example, like watch the Brazil game today, right? Brazil, a very sad day for us. And I had a feeling we're going to do very bad against Norway because Holland is a beast and we do very bad with like big teams. And Brazil hasn't been playing that well for what we should be, how we should be playing, how we're used to the standard of the Brazilian national team. And people will look at that game and be like, "Oh, these guys suck." Like it's very common, right? When
Hmm.
watching sport, it's like, "Oh, this guy's trash. What the fuck?" And everybody has an opinion, and everybody thinks they know who should have been playing and not been playing, what the player should be doing or not be doing. But let's try seeing them in the game. You know what I mean? How they perform,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, it's human nature to like to do that. I guess it's entertainment. That's the thing. What you said about the like a lot of it is kids going on leaving comments. Like it's a form of entertainment for them,
Yeah.
to go hate on people. Like like they're looking for shit all day just to like drop hate comments on.
Yeah. Every now and then they find my content and say something.
Right? They find Promogod. They're like, oh yeah, let's hate on this guy.
But yeah, to move into our last topic is the people support you when it's too late. I think a lot of people they don't want to support you until they see other people supporting you, but by that time it's kind of too late, you know? Like if I need your support when I'm up and coming and I need your financial support, whatever, and you don't do it because there's no social proof, and then you wait until I'm like famous and then you're like, "Oh, now I support him." It's kind of too late. It's like the train has already left. So it's like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are like that, but this is why it's important to build your niche because like the people you build with and create a community around, those are the people that are gonna take you to the level where people are like, "Oh, this person's successful. I'm gonna support them." When you're not gonna need their support anymore. So like if you're an artist and you want to get to the point where you want to blow up, you essentially have to find your scene, because most average people, they don't support you until you become super popular or, super like have a cult following, kind of like Young Thug. When Young Thug first came out, everyone was like, "Man, this is trash. This is trash." I remember my friends would say that. And then 2 years later, they're listening to him and like, "Oh my God, he's the best ever." Because they didn't get the art at the beginning, and then when everyone like kind of followed Young Thug and was like, okay, this person's talented, and his fans kept like standing up for him, people eventually kind of gave in and were like, we need to, I'm gonna support him too because I see like how different he is, and he has a cult following, so like that makes people. If you have a cult following doing anything, that makes the average person, support you for some strange
Well,
reason.
yeah. Here's the thing, man. Since every person in human history, since Jesus Christ himself, since every, you know, anybody, look, there's something that happens. It's called like, it's like this. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they hate you, and then they love you, and then they hate you and love you again until the day you die in a cycle. This
Right.
is how fame works, and in many ways how human nature works, but definitely with fame. So when you say, your supporters like they support you, it's too late, all that. I mean, it's just the fact is how it works. In the beginning, they're gonna ignore you. Nobody's gonna pay attention to you. They're gonna find a way to get
Right.
attention. Then they're gonna laugh at you, like, look at this fucking guy, what the fuck? But now they're talking about you. And then start to hate on you. Well, this guy doesn't stop. What the fuck? This fucking idiot. And eventually they love you because they see, oh shit, he actually touched me now. He actually got it. It's a very sensitive topic, what you said about, this people not supporting you. It's something I've experienced in my life, and I think everybody has. And maybe the support wasn't what you needed to push forward. Maybe you needed the hate. Maybe it's part of the process, and we just have to accept that, right? Like you talked about social proof. It's human nature to feel social proof. This happens in like every aspect, even in dating, in a job, right? Like think of what you said applies to like people who go to school. Like they go to
Right.
college to get a degree to get a job, and then it's like the job doesn't want to hire them because they have the degree, but they don't have the skills and they don't have the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But they went to school to get the degree, so they get the job. So they couldn't get the experience because they were busy getting the degree. So with
Right.
their catch 22, they're like, what the fuck? What do I do? Right? Kind of similar to what you said. It's like people would only support you when it's till it's too late. But when you're nobody, nobody supports you. So how do you get the support? You're in a catch 22. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. But that's why the goal is to just attack the problem and keep going, and you will find those supporters. If you get good enough. Are you willing to weather the storm? Are you willing to go through the time where nobody pays attention to you? Everybody hates on you. Are you willing to go through that tough period? And some people may not experience that tough period in the beginning. They may experience it later. There's some people that blow up really quickly and everybody loves them from the beginning, but they usually get some kind of moment of hate throughout their career later down the line. Some people get in the beginning. Some people are child stars, and then when they're older, nobody gives a fuck about them anymore, and they go through depression because nobody cares about them
Yeah.
anymore, and they base their whole validation on people knowing them.
I mean,
We
it's
all
all
have
a
our lot in
phase,
life,
you know.
huh?
I feel like everything is a phase, you know. You can be like
Yes.
the biggest superstar at one point and then you fall off. Like I'm not gonna say Andrew Tate is a phase, but he had a big phase, you know, and where he was like everyone was talking about him. You know,
Yeah,
now it's
and
kind
maybe
of
he's
like
going through another phase, and he'll go into another phase, and
yeah,
who knows what that
you never
phase
know.
is. Um, and like for example, like some of the biggest artists, like fucking Michael Jackson, he's famous since he was a kid. He had
Yeah,
phases, but he was always the most famous person on the planet, one of the
yeah.
most entertainment wise. But he worked really hard to like make sure he was number one, make sure he was talked
Yeah, I
about
mean
all the
Michael
time.
Jackson was a different beast, you know?
But he also talked about, but he also went through a lot of fucking psychological problems because of that. He also fucking died early, very early. You know, he also, had some fucking traumatic shit happen during his career, right? Everything comes with a
Yeah.
cost. You don't know, was it worth it? Maybe, right? I mean, Kobe Bryant was one of the best, one of my favorite athletes in human history. And I'm not even a basketball fan. I just love the Mamba mentality. And he dies in a helicopter crash after he retires at young age.
Right.
Tragically, his name will live on forever because of it, probably even more because of his death. But he did everything, he sacrificed everything, went through all that, lived a great life, right? I mean, he worked hard, but he was one of the best basketball players in history, one of the most famous people on the planet, athletes, fucking super successful, tall, attractive. I'm sure got a bunch of females if he wanted to, right? He had his wife. They get married. He was a rapper. He rapped a lot, right? Remember, that's actually how he met his wife. He was rapping and he did like a music video shoot, and she was one of the video girls. And Vanessa Bryan. And the guy gets out of basketball, decides he's gonna start writing children's books. I have a conspiracy theory on it, but world will never know. And he was gonna write children's books and like build a business off that. He talked about it a lot. That was his next venture after basketball. And he dies in a helicopter crash with his daughter, right?
Mm-hmm. Think
I
couple
mean,
of his daughters.
how tragic is that?
That's crazy.
And he was one of the greatest. And he was not only like, I mean, I don't know him personally, but he seemed like a good guy.
Sometimes some people don't support you until it's too late. Like sometimes that means you have to die too, you know, and for certain
Yeah,
people.
yeah, like literally too late. Like but is it too late? Now they live on forever.
Hmm.
His name will be some of these people's names will be eternal. They will be etched into the history books, etched into the brains of mankind for the rest of human
Right.
history. Maybe that is worth it. You know, that's
Hmm.
living beyond your DNA, right? So I think that's how you have to deal with it. You have to be your biggest supporter. Number one, you have to be your biggest supporter as an individual. And once you're your biggest supporter and you're confident in that, I think you'll start to attract some supporters. Your biggest supporter could be your mother and father, or could not be your mother and father. It could be someone else very close to you, right in the beginning.
Right.
And, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's incredible. You have someone, and it could be nobody. It could be just you. And again, are you willing to weather the storm? Are you willing to go through the period of when you start up your business, right? With starting like a startup business, you start making music, you start this business, and you go through all these problems of people ignoring you, then you get haters and nobody supports you. Then maybe they start supporting you when you get some traction, and now you don't know how to deal with that psychologically as well. That's a hard thing to deal with when your friends don't support you or people that know you don't support you, and you expect that. You expect them to do it out of love, and then they don't do it, and then you make it, and they start doing it, and now you're bitter. You're like, "Fuck you! You didn't give a fuck about me then." But you have to understand something, like Jesus Christ said, "Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they do." Right? They're not aware. They don't understand why the social proof drives their psychological brain to only believe in something when other people are rocking, right? So I think
Definitely.
the best thing you can do as an artist is not get emotional about it. It's kind of like, it's just it's social. It's wired into our biology, right? Why humans tend to follow what other people are doing. It comes down to security, right? Like this is
Hmm.
very effective, like with women, for example. Maybe even at some levels, maybe with men, like for dating, right? Like if a woman's every man who's ever been in a relationship or married knows this, the moment you got a ring on your finger or a girl by your side, many girls that never would talk to you are suddenly interested in you. Every man's been through this, you know?
Yeah.
For some reason, when you got a girlfriend, they all want it. And when you're single, it's like nobody wants you, right? And for a lot of people, like a lot of people have experienced that at some point in their life, um, on a small level, but but that's social proof, right? Like women want security, so they're like, okay, well, if this guy has other people interested in him, he must be have something. Same thing, by the way, this is what happens to music artists. People say, who do I want to listen to? I want to be entertained, right?
Hmm.
I want entertainment, music, movies, whatever, video games. What are they going to do? Well, what should I watch? What should I listen to? What should I play? Let me see what's popular. What are other people playing? Right? It's the first place you start because it's safe. It's secure. It's like, I don't want to waste my time with entertainment that's not going to entertain me properly. So I might as well look at what's popular and be entertained by that. Because then even if it sucks, at least I can talk about other people about what I listen to or watch with. I can
Yeah.
I can share that with them, which goes down to what you said earlier, Malcolm, community. Why do people get so hyped around the World Cup? Why? I think I find it crazy how emotional people get about their country playing. I even was kind of emotional today. I was like, fuck, I was sad. Right? And I was like, man, I hate watching. This is why I don't like watching this stuff. I get too emotional. But people get extremely passionate about this. People don't have nothing and they waste all their time about this. Part of the circus thing, the bread and circus of the Romans, but in modern day Roman Empire, which is the American Empire. Why? Well, let's look at it from a psychological level, not a manipulation level, like, oh, it's the bread and circus thing. Let's look at it from a real psychological level. It's community.
Hmm.
When you watch your country play, you believe they represent you. They are like you from your nation, representing your culture, where you were raised. That gives you a sense of belonging, a sense of community, a sense of this represents who I am in some way, shape, or form, which is what makes you get behind it. So with artists, once you can represent who they are, not on the outside, but on the inside, their soul. I identify with this artist. My favorite artists in the world were always people that I identified with. When I looked at that artist, I was like, fuck, he speaks to me or she. speaks to me. The song that I'm listening to speaks to me. You know, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. I have a long list of favorite songs of all time, but just came to my head now. Celine Dion, which is Because You Love Me. Because when I hear that song, I don't hear it like a love song. Like I hear it like a gospel song to God. He gave me wings and made me fly. Touched my hand and I touched the sky. Lost my faith, you brought it back to me. You saw the power that wasn't me. That's like when I hear those lyrics, like I'm like, oh my God. And the way Celine Dion sings is incredible, right? Now, I don't necessarily identify with her as an individual, like as an artist, but I like her though. She's a classic. I don't know. I want to take my mom one day to watch Celine Dion in concert. That's one of my dreams. But the song is so beautifully written that it connects to my soul. I identify with the words written in the way she sang it. It doesn't have to be deep, by the way. Sometimes you identify with something that's not on that level of depth. I'm just talking about me. So if you can find a way for people to identify with you, right, and what you're creating, I think it's the first step to really building a community and having people that believe in your brand and your vision.
Definitely. Sorry, someone was texting me. Yeah, so I totally agree, just as far as what you just said. But yeah, I think we should close it out here. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good little spot right there for sure.
Yeah, it's getting late. We're up late doing this. Gotta,
You are up early. I am up at 4:30. Talk to me about late. Don't talk to me about late. I've slept 4 hours all week. I went to sleep at 5 a.m., woke up at 9, 10, something like that. And then yesterday I think I slept a little more. But yeah, I mean it is what it is. This is part of the game, you know? I mean, you either want it or you don't. Got a lot of
definitely.
shit to get done.
It's time to make greatness happen, mate.
Just for reference, it's like before we end it, it's like, what were you doing? Let's share this. It's important for people to hear. What were you doing before we did this podcast?
I was
We're
shooting
running,
some, I was running some ads, but I was
running some
also
ads,
working
shooting
on
some videos,
editing videos.
editing videos, right? Did you
Yeah.
did you that's just like we want to do this. We're doing it because we like it. But like, would you not rather just like, hey Rick, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm tired. You kind of do, right? Like you might feel like doing it. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I literally I was on a date. I was at a nightclub down the street. I literally am walking a girl saying goodbye, and I said, I'm about to go shoot a podcast right now. It's like 2 in the morning. Came home, yo, let's do it. Boom, turn on the camera. My brother's sleeping in a room right now. He's visiting me in Brazil. I was with him. He's like, what I'm trying to say is like, work don't stop. Like I told my brother, it's like, bro, all I like is I just work, but I love it. I want to. I'm motivated to do it. And God likes it when you do that, man. Our Creator likes it. He blesses us when you do that, regardless of your religious beliefs. There's something out there in the universe. There's some universal energy that once you put in the work and you're grateful and you're focused and you have faith, you have confidence, you don't second guess yourself, you don't worry, you don't allow any fucking bullshit thoughts or other people's opinions to get in your way, and you just go after it. It's
Yeah.
really difficult to fail. And victory is the only real outcome that can even occur. So that's what we do here, bro. At Dreams to Reality. Podcast number 3 complete. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great motherfucking week.
Definitely. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for joining. All right.
That was good.